Hi everyone. What we'll be doing today is going through a little test program to be able to test if you've actually got a problem with your BlueMicro. So for example, you may have installed either your BlueMicro somewhere and you're trying to identify whether you've got a short somewhere or something doesn't seem right. So I've actually created a little program to be able to essentially scan all the GPIOs to actually tell us if it's actually shorted high, shorted low, or tell us if there's any symptoms of what it could be as really as a troubleshooting tool. So let's have a look at the GPIO tester what I've got here. So let's just gonna scan through this. So what it is I've got a simple GPIO tester. It's not really doing anything special. I'm just defining either a bunch of labels for my pins and then calling them in specific order. So these are in the order of whatever the pins are above, and these map out to my inner rows here. So that's why they seem to be all more or less random. And then I've got if you comment this out and if you uncomment this whole row here below, then this will essentially test all the GPIOs on the NRF52840 except where there's the reset pin and then the crystal, 32 kilohertz crystal on pin 0 and 1. So those are essentially bypassed. But I'm just gonna run through the first one here. Just as a really good example to test an actual scenario here. So, and then the way it works essentially just writes a little GPIO tester label in the serial port, and then it literally has a header and literally scans and makes a little table of information. Now let's go and compile and flash this. So remember, we've got to make sure that we've got our board set up to be the proper board, and then make sure that we've got our COM port set up, and then we just go and flash. So if we go and upload, it'll do its thing. And it took 2 seconds. Now I need to go and connect and go serial monitor. And let's just move that here so that you see exactly what I'm doing. Now you can see it just kind of keeps repeating this table over and over and over again. It goes so fast that it's not moving. But if you look very carefully, I just say here's a GPIO and this is say port 6, 8 and so on. So these are the same numbers that I have. If you look carefully, I've got 6, 8 and so on as we go down. And then I've got a couple of labels here, 9 and 10. These are special pins that the software have to be set up to be able to write to. I know in my case here the firmware takes care of it, but if it doesn't, then obviously these might actually work very differently. And then it kind of goes scan through and goes over and over again. So I'm just going to give you an example. What would happen if you actually have a pin that's either shorted to ground or shorted across 2 different pins. So let me just kind of go across 2 different pins first. Now you can see there's 2 pins got moved to ground. So say, oh, okay, I actually see that these 2 are shorted together. And then you can go 2 pins side by side and you actually see, okay, these 2 are shorted together. Now if you go directly to ground, where's the ground? There's the ground. And one of the pins, you can will see one at a time, only one is shorted to ground. So you actually can identify which one has a problem. Or if it's actually shorted up to the power or VCC, you can actually see it. Also it says it's shorted to VCC as you can go from pin to pin. So I've kind of created this really as a troubleshooting tool to be able to quickly identify if you've got shorts either in between pins or between the pin and the ground, or a pin and the voltage up, like the VCC. So hopefully that'll be useful as a troubleshooting tool to see if it is actually working fine. Now let me just show you before I close this for today, what it would look like if I run everybody. So if I go on everybody here, obviously the list will be longer. And it's going to be uploading. And now I just need to go and do my serial monitor. Move it back here. And just stretch that window a little bit more so I can see the entire table. So you can see here, it's the same chip, but now there's actually a few more pins that, like for example, the 31. I know this on this device, pin 31 is where I have the what's called the ADC for the battery level, and because we're actually pulling the pin up and down, it's actually CEC. It's actually not behaving similarly. Now, like that GPIO 1.4, like this one is not connected to anything on this on the module. It's not like coming out. So that one I have no control on really to do anything. But I'm scanning all of the GPIOs that are available on the chip. Now, between the chip and the module that's actually like being used here, maybe not everything is ported out. And between the module and the BlueMicro, there's even less things that are being ported out. Now, I know for a fact that my pin 4 is actually a pin where I have a LED on. So for some reason, it seems to be seeing it as a grounded pin there. At least that's what I think it is. So, but that's why usually we're gonna want to go through and just use the actually, let me just show you why also. Now, if I go in sequence and just gonna go, for example, for ground, and in sequence in between my different pins here, you'll see it's gonna go. Okay, I've got one there, 111. Then it jumps like one, I don't know which one, like 28 maybe. Then so you can see as I move, it kind of jumps around like up and down. So it's kind of like difficult to see which two pins are actually shorted together. However, I'm going to kind of close this one, and then by using this first one here and flashing it again, because I've ordered them in sequence, this one will be much more useful for our troubleshooting on the BlueMicro factor, because these are the labels for the BlueMicro. So if I go here again, serial monitor, just bringing out here and pull it down so I see the full table. Now I'm just gonna grab just VCC for example, and if I move down the row of pins, as I see my VCC move up by just one single row, which makes it much easier to troubleshoot. That's because you can see here the GPIOs, they're actually not in the actual order of the number of GPIOs. So that's why I recommend using that first one. Now this this program is actually going to be in the BlueMicro firmware repository, and I'm going to show you where it's located. So if you have a look on the folder here, and typically the firmware is where it's here, but there's that folder called Arduino tests, and we've got that GPIO tester right here. And if you look carefully, this looks like for pretty much the same code that we were just looking at. So this is it. So a little useful tool to test the GPIOs to see if there's anything shorted. So hopefully that'll be a tool that you'll be able to find useful. I know I am already finding it quite useful. So and it's going to be part of the repository for the BlueMicro firmware. So if you do a git clone and get it all, or just download the zip file, you'll have it already available for you to use. This is it for today, and I hope you find this useful. Well, happy troubleshooting. Thanks. Have a good one.